Hey guys, welcome back to another Stardust video. In today's video I'm doing something slightly different. I am doing a top 5 of all my favourite maps in the game. Now as a quick disclaimer, these are my favourite maps, they are not the best maps. These are typically going off my opinion and how my game style and how I like to play the game. So don't take it 100% seriously. I know some people really dislike to certain maps and other people really like them. But comment down below what your favourite map is and which map you hate the most, and maybe I'll do a video in the future about my most hated maps. But anyway, let's get into it. At number 5, I have Zen. Zen is one of my favourite maps. It's the number 5. It's because not only is it really long range, but there's lots of little hiding spots that cloaked ships can hide from, or missile ships. You can peek corners. And you can use brawlers, because if it's domination, you have to rush the points. If it's deathmatch, people can hide behind the island, but because it's such a small gap, it only takes a little bit of movement for the enemy or for you to go over the edge and find all the enemy's carriers just sitting there. And I love that because it means you can play a carry on that map, but you can also play a brawler. And that follows in quite a few of my favourite maps, but I do have a few outliers. But yeah, Zen's number 5. In number 4, I have Scarif. Now, Scarif is quite a big brawly map. Well, I mean big, I mean it's tiny. They clump you up into this small spot, and you spawn at like less than 40 kilometers range from each other, and you basically brawl it out. In domination, it's complete chaos because the domination point is so close to each other's spawns. It's basically back and forth between who's holding it. And I love the chaos for it. I just love the fact that like certain ships like the Golan Station can be really effective there, massive brawlers, but you can also use missile ships because a lot of people who use brawlers, those ships can't counter missile ships like Halo destroyers, although it is sometimes very fun to spawn in like a Tripoli, just like one shot that spinning space battleship Yamato or Halo destroyer spinning at a distance, you just one shot them with Tripoli. I find that really fun. It's only just the anarchy and chaos when Scarif starts that I love. Scarif used to have a Predator Mark II in the center of the map, and people used to hide behind that, but it was like heavily one-sided because one side of the map had the engines facing them, and the other side had the front of it, but the area of where the engines were was a lot bigger, and so it was a lot flatter, so it was a lot easier to defend from than the other side. So they got rid of it, and now it's just even more chaos. I just love the chaos, honestly. For my third map, a little bit of a controversial map here. My third favourite map is Benspin. Benspin is a super long-range map with the Cloud City in the centre with like weather stations or whatever dotted around the outside of it. You can hide in the clouds so that people don't know what ship you are, or you can rush the center or one of the weather station looking things on the outside. Rush those and hide there as a carrier or something. Certain ships like the Poseidon does really well on here because it's really small and has good missiles and point defense. Other carriers can do really well on here, but it also allows people to use their missile ships. Unlike things like I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head now, but the one with the big blue star with the black. I can't remember the name of it, but that map is the only real hiding spots is near the asteroid field, but that's really far away and hard to get to. But I just love Benspin, and I know there are some people out there who really dislike it. Most of the time, there's people who really hate Benspin, like playing Star Wars and Reapers mainly, but it's like Chad Benspin Enjoyer versus Scabby, Reaper and Star Wars main. But honestly, Benspin is one of my favourite maps, and it's my third favourite. And I know that's controversial, but it's mine, and you can't take that away from me. In number 2, I have Installation 4. Installation 4 is an open map. It's a bit like Scarif, only that you spawn further away from each other, about 5 to 10 kilometers further away than each other, but it also, this map's hitbox is very large, so if you want to, you can use a missile ship in this. You can also use a carrier, although carriers aren't too good, it's mostly missile ships and brawlers, and that goes back into my gameplay. I'm not a fan of carriers, they're enjoyable sometimes. So a lot of my gameplay consists of brawlers and missile ships. I'm in love with missile ships. Things like the Tripoli is one of my favorite ships in the game. Installation 4, you can play missile ships, you can play brawlers, you can do everything. Domination, you have 1 point that can be quite highly contested. If you get and yeah, honestly, Installation 4 deserves to be in second place. Before I move on to first place, I do have a few honourable mentions. Things that didn't quite make it into my top 5, but things I would definitely consider to be one of my favourites too. At first we have the collector base. The collector base kind of runs a bit like Zen in the sense that there's a center part of the map that people can run to. But I kind of like collector's base because it's because the centerpiece is a lot smaller and a lot easier to run around and, you know, troll and annoy the enemy. But the reason why it isn't in my top 5 is because it isn't as such a big map like Zen. You can't really go that far out on it. It's quite a mid-range, short-range map. It's very fun for things like the Arizona with its 120,000 damage wave motion gun if it's at point-blank range, which, yeah, it pretty much does that. It's also very good for the Mizuki, which you can, like, rush corners and ram things, which is also fun. Same with the Sovereign class. That's what makes Collector Base quite fun, but it's just the fact that it's not quite long range for me. That's why it's not in my top 5. My next one is Reach Atmosphere. Reach Atmosphere is a mid-range map. It's not quite long range. There are debris scattered around the map, which certain smaller ships, maybe cloak ships, Poseidon, they can hide behind there. It's quite a Halo-orientated ship map. Like, you don't really see many Star Wars ships. If you see a Star Wars ship, it's maybe like an Obi-Wan or a Tyrant. If it's anything else, like a Compeller, it just gets curb stomped by the Thanatos and Punic and not Punic, but Everest or Valiant just sitting in the back of the map, missiling to death, which is very funny. Missiling the Star Wars mains is very enjoyable. The reason why it's not in my top 5 is because it is very easy to get overwhelmed on this map. If your team aren't really using any missile ships, my god, you are just screwed. And there's not enough hiding spots for big missile ships. It's only for really small ones. It's very annoying if you come across a Poseidon that just sits behind a piece of debris. Pretty much nothing can get to it because any carrier that spawns that's big enough on the other side of the map will just get killed by whatever missile ship or brawler is in its spawn or looking at its spawn, and that's why it hasn't quite made it in there. Another honourable mention I have is the Arc of Destruction. The Arc of Destruction, in certain scenarios, it can be an all-rounder map, but in some scenarios it can't. In the sense, if it's a deathmatch or fleet battle, it's a carrier map, because it's too far of a distance for brawlers to charge from. But if it's domination, that's 1 point above, 1 point below, and it basically means you can't really sit back as a carrier and do nothing to take the points, because the enemy can rush those points, and that's when it becomes more of a mixed map of carriers and brawlers, or lighter ships, because something needs to take those points, and because it's quite scenario orientated, that's why it's not in my top 5. In number 1, I have Sus Fortress. Sus Fortress is probably one of my favourite maps. It is my favourite map. What am I saying? It is my favourite map. It's my favourite map because it's a long-range map, but the actual spawns are really close to each other. They spawn in like range of Scarif range, but if you want to, you can fly in the opposite direction of spawn and go up or down, and you can be a long-range missile ship, and you can play Sus Fortress long range, but you can also play at short range, really short range. Same thing with Amazuki, you can go off and ram things. Same things with things like the Poseidon, you can nuke the enemy from quite a distance away. Or if the enemy are all camping as carriers, you can all rush as brawlers and rush their position, and they have no means of defeating you all, and they die. And that's why Sus Fortress is one of my favourite maps. It's an all-rounder map. It's the perfect Stardust map. It's where you can play every type of ship, and that's what makes, in my opinion, the best Stardust map. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, comment down below what you want to see next. A ship or another video like this, who knows. But yeah, remember to like and subscribe, and yeah, you can also join my channel for a whole £2 a month. Yeah. But yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.